Hi, I'm Sam Vokes at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. In the next hour, and not even in this order, we'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield. We'll also hear from Luke.
Hello? Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying Luke Leahy. I do apologise.
No, we won't hear from him. That was on Ringing the Blues earlier in the week. Lucky that wasn't rehearsed. Also, we'll be bringing you a chat with Ashley Harte, who used to be a right back, then switched and is now in the middle of the field for Wycombe Wanderers Women. They're playing Dartford on Sunday in the last qualifying round of the Women's FA Cup. We'll be previewing that. We'll hear from Keith Scott as well. Phil's been chatting to him at Adams Park as we continue, thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, looking at 30 years in the Football League. I've just realised I'm doing this backwards. That's how this has worked. We'll also, where have we got to? Oh yeah, Phil. We'll talk to him in a few moments' time. Because last week on the show, we didn't have any football to look forward to in terms of last weekend. But this weekend, yes, football returns after the international break. We had 3 players on international duty. Congratulations to TJ, to Joe, and also to Dale as well. We'll reflect on that with Phil in a few moments' time. We'll look ahead to the trip to Peterborough United on Saturday, which if you're not going to the game, because it's quite a way, then you can listen to full match commentary on Wanderers TV and here on Wycombe Sound as well. I think that's everything. There might be other stuff that emerges as the hour progresses as well. But first, as we mentioned, I'll chat with Phil. And if you did hear Ringing the Blues on Tuesday, or even if you didn't, there was we're going to tell you anyway. There was a fantastic chat with both the manager and chairman, which Phil was hosting and got a lot out of as well.
Yeah, and as I said on the piece, it came from Matt Bloomfield and Rob themselves. They wanted to sort of say, look, it'd be interesting to see this relationship. It's a relationship that obviously goes on up and down the country between managers, head coaches and chairman and board, etc. And it's a key relationship, isn't it, for every successful club and business everywhere. So it's really interesting to hear how that happens. And like I've always said, one of the biggest things I liked about Rob when I first met him was that he didn't pretend to know anything about football, and still doesn't to a certain extent, although he certainly is getting his head around it. But it's that wonderful sort of trust and delegation into Matt that he's got, and that's been really evident to see in the last 6 months, because there have been changes, of course, since the only manager that Rob had worked with in football when he left. So it was interesting to kind of get the workings of how that all happened and then how that's settled down since.
Because you get, don't you, a bit of a perception, I think, of chairmen and owners, especially from abroad. But I think what's great with Rob is he's so sort of open and so, kind of happy to chat with fans in the car park on a match day, or, as you say, do things like this with yourself, even from America.
Yeah, I think actually from my very limited experience of dealing with American sport, it's kind of a very different approach to the media there. I remember going to an NFL media day, and it was essentially the entire squad and staff there, and just sort of released into a room full of journalists, and people could speak to whoever they wanted for however long they wanted to, pretty much about what they wanted to. Very different approach here in the UK. Gareth Southgate, I think before the Russian World Cup, sort of adopted that slightly, and to try and sort of heal the rift that he felt was there between the England setup and the media. And at the time it was seen as very groundbreaking. But I often find, the American attitude to press is very different to here. And it's certainly evident with Rob. And, before I worked at the club, I worked for the BBC, and every time I interviewed Rob, it was very much of a case of nothing's off the table. I don't need you to send me questions, which is something we would never do anyway. But a lot of people used to request that, weirdly, back in the day. And it was never really a case of having to edit anything. It was always, hit record, off we go. You can tell he's used to being in the courtroom because he's very intelligent with how he answers his questions. They're well thought out. And this is off the hoof, a lot of it. Like I say, he wasn't expecting a lot of it. And when I joined the club, that's one of the first questions I had to him was like, "Well, I have to change how we communicate," and he said, "Absolutely not. Why would you?" So, yeah, I think it's a big difference between the two cultures.
And same with Pete as well. He comes across obviously as more of a fan than many fans, I think.
Yeah, and that was one of the other observations I had, that when a lot of the big headlines where Wycombe are moving from fan-owned trust ownership into, a majority shareholder. But in terms of the culture of it, Pete is very much on the terrace, and approached life very much as your kind of archetypal fan. So there wasn't really much of a difference, really, I suppose there was a noticeable difference in that Pete was always out and about, and it's very rare that Rob's in the boardroom as well. So it's kind of, for people who live from the other side of the world, they are very visible when they are here.
I know Pete does often say he tries to listen to the show as well, so a very big hello to you if you are listening, and really enjoyed your playlist picks as well. His playlist picks were excellent. I learned so much.
Well, he's got a musical background, and New Orleans is very much a city of music, so that's one of the very early things that I bonded with Pete over.
And your chat with Rob and Matt, of course, also featured the music of Lionel Richie, which Wycombe fans will be reminiscing about when he played at Adams Park as well.
Well, every piece of music that's ever used ever on Ringing the Blues, and subsequently, I guess, Wanderers TV, is there for a reason. It may be an obvious one, it may be completely buried in a subtext, but it adds. I know there is a few listeners of Ringing the Blues who just tend to spend time discussing what musical choices have been used and why, and that's good to hear.
Which brings us quite nicely onto Michael Jackson, because your chat with Luke as well, which is fantastic to hear about the schedule of the players, and because I think as fans you don't really appreciate it, do you? You think they're either always training or always playing or something. Yeah,
I think recovery is massive, isn't it? Certainly from a physical aspect, if you can't run people into the ground, and they'd be absolutely knackered for match day. But there's a mental side of it as well. And what I picked up on from Luke, very interesting, was the chance to spend time with his family, because the way he said it was that they go through what we go through in terms of the matches. The families are heading and kicking every ball as well. Luke's got a young family. He's got so there's all of that to take into consideration as well. Is that okay, these guys aren't here at the training ground and doing the physical training of it, but they're certainly very much on that journey, on that mental journey that the players are, and certainly a support network for the players when they're not here at Marlow Road. I
think what people can take from this chat is do listen to this week's edition of Ringing the Blues.
Yes, I mean, the international break used to fill me with dread. So I was like, what are we going to talk about? But actually, we were able to really mine some areas where we can shed some light and hopefully provide some valuable insight to fans. Obviously, some fans may not care. They just want to turn up on a Saturday at 3:00 and watch the team and go home and put Strictly on, and that's absolutely fine. Other fans want to absolutely know everything there is to know about their football club, and that's fine too. So hopefully we hit the balance between those two things.
And brilliant, you got to chat to Carl Simon as well, with the women having their FA Cup tie this weekend as well, looking to get to the first round proper.
Yeah, it's always good to chat to Carl. He's doing a really good job there, isn't he, with Wycombe Wanderers women? You can see, the arc of improvement since he's come on board, and they found that permanent home at Burnham and training up to twice a week, and the way that he's changed the structure of the organisation a bit, and really started to see things coming together on the pitch now this season, which is fantastic, because as a whole, women's game is growing. It's great for the club to have all these people out there wearing the Wycombe Wanderers kit and competing in their different levels, and hopefully going on to achieve great things this year. And the FA Cup, the FA really get behind it financially, so to get through these preliminary rounds is quite a big boost for the club. They're wholly owned by the trust, the women's team as well. So the money that they would get if they were to beat Dartford would be pretty significant, as it was when they beat Ascot in the first preliminary round. And from a completely other weird point of view, I noticed this week that when under the new algorithm rules of Spotify, when Carl Simon is on Ringing the Blues, the algorithm brings up Carly Simon. So if we've got any Carly Simon fans listening to Ringing the Blues this week for the very first time, then welcome.
Really can't recommend listening to Ringing the Blues enough. I think most of this chat has been about that. Later on the show, we'll be chatting to Ash from Wycombe Wanderers Women as well to preview that cup game a bit more. We should talk about actual football as well, not just promoting other excellent Wycombe Wanderers shows as well, although happy to do that too. We could spend the whole programme talking about that. But also really nice that the players are back training today after the international break, and it feels almost quite historic, doesn't it, that TJ and Jolo played against each other.
Yeah, I think it's happened in the past in amateur internationals when a long time ago when Wycombe were amateur. But this is, in this level of football, we think the first time that it's happened, and brilliant. TJ's well over 30 international appearances now for Gibraltar, an established international. But for Joe Lowe to get the nod for the Wales first team, promoted up from the under-21s due to an injury, is phenomenal for him. It's a huge milestone. And fantastic. I mean, I've never represented my country in anything, so I can only imagine the pride he must have felt, as did his family. So yeah, brilliant, and it was wonderful to watch the game. Not only that, it was in Welsh commentary, the one I watched, so it was good to jump off my sofa when I heard the Wycombe Wanderers mentioned. Sam Vokes got a couple of mentions in there as well. So it was a really good experience to sit and watch that. And let's not forget as well, Dale Taylor, albeit as a loanee, has gone out and started 2 games for Northern Ireland as well. Brilliant stuff, really good stuff for the club, and hopefully they've come back injury free, and also travel is almost as good as the rest. Sometimes gives you a different viewpoint. So hopefully we see the benefits of that on Saturday when there is a game and we can talk about football rather than podcasts.
I know that we've touched before on how well the new players have settled in, but great, isn't it, that the likes of Joe and Dale, and to promote something else, Knowing Blues is back as well, and that features Freddie Potts, again, someone who's doing so well for the club. Yeah,
and again we touched on it on the podcast about the pitfalls of falling in love with loan players, but I think they're fully justified to fall in love with, because they've fallen in love with Wycombe Wanderers. You can tell by the way they play, by the way they train, by the way they represent the club in all areas, that these aren't just here on loan from a bigger club. Yes, it's contributing to hopefully a glittering career at a high level for them, but we should really embrace these players whilst they're here, and revel in the fact that we're playing a part in their journey, as we did with Ebrici Eze, with Alfie Mawson in the past, in the recent past. And I still take a sense of pride from watching Eze on Match of the Day, because I firmly believe that wouldn't be possible without what he had to do here at Wycombe Wanderers. And I look forward to doing the same with Freddie Potts down the years.
No, absolutely, because it's also, I think it's easy to forget or perhaps take for granted that the brilliant work that must go on behind the scenes from the manager and his backroom team, and obviously the previous manager and his backroom team as well, to bring them in, because they are some great names from top clubs and really exciting prospects. I mean, they could easily, I've offered my services many times to come in on loan, but it's not happened. But they could bring in literally anyone, but some of the really exciting prospects and some of those that you've mentioned as well.
Yeah, we heard a bit about that with Matt and Rob's chat in the amount of work that went in one behind the scenes, certainly with the gaffer as well. And let's not forget, that the likes of Harry Boyes, Cian Brecken, Freddie Potts, etc. These people are assets for their club. They're looking to develop them for themselves. So there's a huge element of trust coming from Man City, from West Ham, from Sheffield United, from Nottingham Forest. For the players to come here and what they experience and how they develop them as players, and they're going to get much better characters and players back from their experience here, which is what they would have been hoping for. But they'd have done their due diligence on Wycombe Wanderers. And Matt Bloomfield would have had to have jumped through several hoops and put a huge amount of graft into getting these deals across the line. And it's great now to see them settled in and really contributing to what will hopefully be a successful season for Wycombe.
I think jumping through hoops could be another great feature for perhaps Ringing the Blues, or even this show. We could work on that, couldn't we?
We haven't got any budget to purchase hoops, so if people want to send in some hoops for people to jump through, then we'll be happy to film it.
Looking at the league table going into the Peterborough trip on Saturday, it doesn't, I suppose, quite so good. It's sort of win, lose, which looks like it's quite inconsistent form. But the players are playing really well, and it feels like we're going in a really good direction.
Yeah, but the stats and the runs can give you sort of false positions as well, because you can be unbeaten for 7 games and draw 6 of them when you'd be better off winning one after a defeat and interspersing it that way. But yeah, look, I think momentum is there. I think the defeat at Pompey was a kick in the teeth at the time, but the performance was strong. And on another day, Wycombe don't lose that game. And to use a Matt Bloomfield mantra is, you look after the performances and the results will take care of themselves. And on another day, we'd come away from something from there. So in terms of momentum and performance, I think it's been really, really strong. obviously the first half at Fleetwood takes the headlines, and I'm sure the players are champing at the bit to get back out there. Peterborough have started really, really well. It's going to be it's always a tough game going there. Obviously, we had a great start to the calendar year there, winning 3-0 last season at London Road, but that will play its part as well in this game because it already has done, because it saw off Grant McCann and reintroduced Darren Ferguson back to London Road, and he's done a fantastic job since coming back. So this is going to be a tough game against a team that perhaps went under the radar during pre-season. I think a lot of people saw some financial problems there, some ownership issues, and perhaps computed that may lead them to struggling this season. They've started really, really well, so I'm sure their fans are buoyant. In fact, I know they are. I spoke to some this week. They're very happy with how things are going, and I think it's going to be a very tough game.
And you mentioned the Fleetwood game, because that was obviously, there's been a run of away trips, and we spoke to the manager recently as well, which it really feels like, away games are something which, obviously they're different to home games and how they're approached, but, there isn't a home game for a little while. We haven't had one yet this month.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle, and just to, self-indulgently bring this back to me, it's not just the players that have to travel, it's the staff and also the fans. The fans really are the ones that we should be talking about here, because it's a huge commitment financially, time-wise, etc. And, it's tough. And the community aspect of football is largely built around the home games, where you kind of build your friendships and meet people and stuff. The away days are the extensions of that for those that do travel. But yeah, just, the impact on the local community when you don't have a home game for a long time is there to be seen as well.
I guess as well, though, the players will be raring to go after the international break, though.
Yeah, like I said, that momentum from the final game before the international break at Fleetwood, I'm sure they would have wanted to be back out on the pitch the next day if possible. But, they've had to bide their time a bit. But equally, it's given time to have a good old look at Peterborough. I'm sure the analyst staff have done that, and like they do for every single game, the exhaustive amount of work that goes on in that area. It's going to be fascinating to see how we approach this one. I think, looking at it from a division point of view, it's a fascinating tie, this. And to mention the dreaded PPG, we have played one game less than Peterborough. If we win that, then we are above them in the table, but only by 1 point. So this is, two teams who will be looking at the top six. I think it's a real kind of good indicator for our season, this game coming up, as is this week, because we've got Bolton on Tuesday, and then another tough trip to Oxford, who've made a fantastic start to the season. Another away game the following Saturday at Oxford. So it's a big week in terms of seeing where we're actually at in the division, I think.
Crosses out points per game question. Next. Well, it sounds fantastic. Definitely. It does add a bit of extra edge to the game, but really looking forward to it. If fans aren't going to Peterborough, don't forget they'll be able to hear you telling us about it live on Saturday.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's always good to go there. Not too far as well after the last one. And let's not forget the FA Cup draw as well, which is just a little pop round the corner up to Bradford and back for the FA Cup first round.
Brilliant to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, Colin.
Great chatting to Phil. Don't forget more away days to come as well. There's still a busy fixture list in October too. So with half term coming up, there'll be plenty of opportunity for you to follow Wycombe Wanderers, as I say, on Wanderers TV and here on Wycombe Sound as well. It's the Wycombe Wanderers Show, continuing in a few moments' time.
Online, on Radio Player and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Part 2 of the Wycombe Wanderers Show still to come. We'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield looking ahead to the trip to Peterborough and giving us a bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes of what goes on at the club during an international break and how proud he is of the players who were on said international break as well. We'll also hear from one of Wycombe Wanderers' women's players looking ahead to the Women's FA Cup. They're against Dartford on Sunday, looking to get into the first round proper. Wish them all the best from that. But first, with big thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we continue our feature on 30 years in the Football League and speaking to some of the names who were involved around that time. And Phil's been catching up with Keith Scott.
One of the best nights of my life supporting this club. Home to Runcorn.
5-1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a night that was.
It was incredible, wasn't it? Yes, 5-1. I managed to get the 1-0 down there. Gup scored a brilliant goal where he picked it up here, ran all the way and scored. But it was, because obviously it was also as well, I suppose it was a precursor to the trophy final. And of course, Ken McKenna was playing at Runcorn, so he had his altercations with the fans here, which goes back to '91 in the Altrincham game. But look, it was that was it. We'd I think 5 games to go. That's it. We'd wrapped up the league by then, hadn't we? And it was really weird actually, because normally when you win a championship, certainly, whenever you win a title, really, generally you want to celebrate afterwards. But it was a midweek, wasn't it? So it was sort of a bit of an anticlimax from a celebration perspective, because we still had 2-3 weeks of the season left. We still had a lot of games to play, maybe 4 or 5 games. We had an FA Trophy final. So although as players we were delighted that we'd effectively won the league, it wasn't a time for celebration because we still had work to do. But from a supporter's perspective and obviously from everybody connected with the club, directors, etc., then it must have been a great time for them.
The title was lifted at home on the final day of the season. That's when we saw the trophy.
Yeah.
Wonderful moments, great photographs.
Lost 1-0 to Macclesfield.
We lost 1-0 to Macclesfield.
Yeah.
The opening day opponents finished the season here and won to stay up. But the scenes after were wonderful.
Yeah, they were. And in fairness, look, we'd won the title anyway, so we were. I tell you what we were thinking about. We were thinking about our holiday, players' holiday, because I tell you what was really interesting. We had. I think we had 13, maybe 12. Say we had 12 or 13 games left, and we had a home game here, and the gaff came in, and he said to Crease, and this was before Crease got injured, I think. He went, Crease, go to the local travel agents, get some brochures. We're going to go away on holiday when we win the league. And he said, but obviously we don't be too extravagant. He went, okay. And I remember Crease saying, is the club okay? That, and the gaff said, don't worry about that. I'll sort that out. And of course, obviously, we won the title. We did on the pitch bit, which was fantastic. Got on the changing room. First thing Gaffer said was, Crease, let's get the holiday booked. You had the disappointment of the year before, where we win the game here against Witten Albion. But we know, obviously, Colchester have ended up winning comfortably, and we've been done on goal difference. So you then fast forward effectively 12 months, and you've gone from disappointment at home to actually, being able to actually celebrate lifting a title at home, and being able to relax, enjoy your summer, knowing that when you come back, you're going to be a Football League club. So it must have been a great. It was a great time to be a player, obviously, but it must have been fantastic for supporters and, of course, everybody connected with the club. I remember when I signed here in '91, their focus was all about getting promotion to the Football League. So, you look at, the Graham Pearce, the Brian Lees, God bless him, and the chairman and what have you, and all, even the Veer, in terms of Verco people. There was a lot of people behind the scenes who worked very hard that you visibly couldn't see to want to get this club into the Football League. So it must have been a great time for the supporters, but it must have been a great time for the people who ran the club at the time as well.
Attention really then turns to the FA Trophy and the home semi-final first leg.
Yeah.
A defeat against Sutton.
I know.
They were missing you, right?
They were, because I didn't play. Matty Crosby didn't play either. Matty was, I think Matty had food poisoning or something, and he didn't, and then of course I did my ankle against Slough, so I didn't play for 3 weeks. And listen, we had a great physio, by the way, Dave Jones, who was ahead of his time. Jonah, who suggested to the gaffer about me going in an oxygen chamber, which literally is they literally put you're in like a flight cockpit. You put the mask on, and then it depressurises, I think. So you're just breathing in natural oxygen. And I was in that for probably a week or two prior to the second leg. And listen, whether it works or not, I don't know. But I managed to play. but we lost 3-2 here, didn't we? We didn't play well. But the second leg, we was never going to lose that.
There seemed to be a bit of a spirit that the name was on the cup. So we'd had a couple of sticky games early on in the tournament, but got through.
I know sometimes people say your name's on the cup, but I think to win a cup competition, you've got to have a little bit of luck along the way. But like I say, Morecambe away, Heidi was top class. He pulled off some fantastic saves. Here against Gateshead, we just didn't play well, but fortunately they didn't score goals, and then Gups did a great bit of magic and won us the game. And then, of course, here we lost 3-2 at home. But going into the second leg, Matty came back. Obviously, I played, but the whole atmosphere in the changing room before the game, it was just we were never going to lose. And what was interesting for me is I remember coming out the changing room as we came out to warm up, and there was the Wycombe fans who had sort of half of that ground. And as we came out, obviously they were cheering. And I remember coming out, and the Sutton players who were warming up stopped and watched us come out. And we just knew then, we thought, yeah, you're not going to win this football match. And of course, we beat 4-0.
Wembley.
Yes.
Obviously, 2 years before, been there, done it, got the T-shirt, got the trophy,
Yeah.
got a goal.
Yes.
What another wonderful day, though, for the club at Wembley.
Yeah, it was. And weirdly enough, with the first time we went, Martin, the gaffer, I should call him Martin, the gaffer said, enjoy it, because you don't know when it's going to happen again. And I enjoyed the second one more than the first one, because the first time, obviously it was the Twin Towers, then it wasn't as it is now. It's a magnificent stadium now, but I think then it was iconic. And then the first one in '91, as you come out, all you saw was a little bit of blue. And then as you got closer, it just went bigger and bigger and bigger. And they were the things that stuck out in '91. But the game the game was just, it was gone. Whereas in '93, when we went there, you could take it all in a little bit more. We went to Wembley again, but it took everything in. So it was a more enjoyable moment, because I think in '91 Kidderminster were a good side. We wasn't sure if it was quite an evenly balanced game, in the sense of they could have won it, we could have won it. So we wasn't sure. We were confident we could win, but we didn't think we would definitely win. It could have gone either way. Unfortunately, if we won it, which is great. In '93, we was always going to win the final. It was Runcorn were not going to win it, because we were head and shoulders better than them. We beat them 5-1 here. We knew we would win the game. So I suppose in '93 you took it in a little bit more, and the moment was really good. It was great. But yeah, it was nice, and it is again, to have the opportunity to play at Wembley twice in 3 years, where a lot of people don't get that opportunity in a lifetime. And if you think about it, we had Steve Guppy on one side, who went on to play for England, Dave Carroll, who should have had a career in football at a much higher level, but if you was a scout coming to watch him play, you'd look at him and think, he can't play football, that boy. But he was a genius. But then you forget about it. You had Ty Gooden, Simon Hutchinson, who couldn't get in the team. And Ty Gooden went on to have a very, very good career in professional football. Then you go into midfield, and we talk now about box-to-box midfielders. You had Steve Thompson, you had Simon Stapleton, you had Keith Ryan. These were box-to-box midfielders, who enjoyed just running up and down the pitch, And so then you go at the back, you had Cuzzo, who if you wanted somebody assassinated, he'd assassinate them. Coe was a little bit more gentle, but Crease, when he was around, was there. Matty Crosley could do it. So we had everything, we had players who could play, we had athletes in the side, we had players who could fight and things of that nature. So I think for that era we was a very, very complete team.
Talk to me about Glyn Creaser, because that was a talismanic goal, but he was a sort of a talismanic figure for the side.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
But we lost him halfway through.
Yeah, we did, yeah. He tried to take on a forklift truck at work and lost, didn't he? Which listen, look, we laugh about it now, obviously, but listen, it was, because he was a club captain, wasn't he? And, very experienced, old-fashioned centre-half, big, strong lad. 6'4", good in the air. He was literally he was the gaffer's number 2, basically. He was his enforcer in a nice way. And we did lose him, and I must admit, when we lost him, certainly from my perspective, I'm thinking, this could be a point in the season where maybe you think, is that where it all goes wrong? But it didn't. We just cracked on. The gaffer brought in various centre halves. Didn't quite find the right one, but obviously the ones he brought in did exceptionally well. Periodically he moved Cuzzo in there, Matty Crosley played in there. So we just, I guess it's just like a machine, isn't it? You just keep going, don't you? You just keep going, and I think that's a testament to the players the gaffer brought in, But I also think it's more testament to the players we had here. That's certainly across the back with Matty, Crosley, Jason. You know, we had players who were very versatile. Rhino, you know, who could just go in there and perform, and it just never upset the balance of the team. But it was a big loss. It was a big loss.
After the game, the famous steps. It was Glyn Creaser that lifted the trophy. Where did that come from?
Well, what it was before the game, because obviously Crease was the gaffer. In fairness to the gaffer, he wanted him along the way with it all. He came with us to the hotels, and Crease was always going to go and lift the trophy. You know, there was Curry and Cuzzo, who were the two captains, whilst he was obviously injured. But they decided amongst themselves that, you know, when we win the trophy, he's going to go and lift it because he was the club captain, you know, and he very well respected from the players and obviously the gaffer. And we wanted to keep him involved, and yes, and he went and lifted the trophy for us, which was great.
Brilliant scenes. Who was player of the season that year?
I think it was me. I think it might have been the 29 goals I got. God, I never got 30. I think I hit the bar in the final.
Double done, journey complete, and then it's the big transition from being a part-time footballer to then that summer, all of you as a squad and everybody, is that decision going to be a full-time footballer. To me as a kid it sounds like an easy decision, but what was it like as a player?
Because I'd come from a professional football club, when I signed my contract here, they kept me on my same contract in terms of money as what I was on at Lincoln. So I effectively was full-time, but obviously if we hadn't gone up that year then that would have changed. So from my point of view the transition was quite easy. But look, it was, you know, if you look at the players we had, obviously there were some players like Crease and all of that, the older ones, but if you look at the majority of the squad, you know, we was all of that age, 23, 24, 25, where actually we wanted to be professional footballers. So I don't think there was a huge transition from that point of view, because I think the club had already prepared for it, and we as players, that was our goal, was to be full-time. So it was just a matter of the gaffer pulling us in the office and saying, let's sign a contract, which he did, which was nice.
The day after Wembley, there was a parade in the town centre. The day after that, a press conference here, Martin O'Neill saying, no thanks to Forest, I'm staying at Wycombe. How big was that?
For the football club to be successful, Martin O'Neill had to stay. The club needed him to stay, which they obviously did, but I also felt that the gaffer thought that there was more to come from this group of players that could be achieved at this football club, and ultimately it was.
What was his secret? What was his style 30 years ago?
I always thought he was a player's manager. He probably won't like me for saying this. He wasn't a great coach, and what I mean by that, he wasn't. John Gorman, I had John Gorman at Swindon. John Gorman on a football field was a fantastic coach. You know, would improve you technically that way. What I mean by the gaffer not being a great coach, he wasn't an on the field, that type of coach. But his understanding of the game and his ability to talk to a player and make it simplistic was genius. And look, and I say this jokingly, when he signed me here, I said to him, what do you want me to do? He said, all I want you to do is get the ball down, give it to them who play, and get in the box. And all I did was, boom, that's all I did. And then of course I developed my game, I'd run channels and all. So he recognised what my strengths were, but the clear message was, I just want you to, as a striker, you in your first role, the most important thing as a striker is when it comes, you've got to look after it. Then the second thing you've got to do is you've got to give it to people. The third thing you've got to do is get in the box, because ultimately as a striker, if you don't get in the box, you don't score goals, you're no use to anybody. So he was very good at giving people information that was important information, but also as well, what he was also very good at was, if things happened in your game, you know, I know nowadays people do videos and they talk about, but he was great at being able to talk to you about a game and say, right, in this game, this is what you did. Actually, this is what you could do, what you should do, what you might want to do. So he was great from that point of view. He treated everybody as an individual, you know, and although we were commodities, he didn't treat you as a commodity. He treated you as a person. He respected you as a person, you know, and if you had a problem, you could go and talk to him. He was a great manager, and he's proven to be a great manager with the success he's had. but he was a great person. He was a nice person. He was a person you could approach, and as players, I found personally that he was good. He was good to me. He was good for me. He improved my game. He made me a better player. But above all else, he's a really good person as well. And I think that's what makes great managers. They're not just have the ability to be successful, but they have the ability to tap into individuals, know what their strengths and weaknesses are, know what they've got to say, and more importantly, when to say it. And they have the ability of getting the best out of every single player, and that's what he has.
Scott, this has been a real pleasure. 30 years, but you're remembering little details here as if it was yesterday.
Well, yeah, because it's like I say. I've had from a footballing point of view. Let's be brutally honest. Somebody, I don't profess to be. Gups was a great footballer. David Cowell, a great footballer. I was an athlete. I was good at what I did, and I managed, from somebody of my ability, to get to the top, which I never imagined. So I had a great career. But to be part of a squad that be part of a football club on a journey that was a non-league football club, to take them into a football league, I think was a fantastic achievement, and I'm proud of that for obvious reasons. But I was just one member of a big team, and this was the football club that ultimately was my springboard to my career. So I've got a lot of fond memories here, and I really enjoyed it, and they were great times, and so it's something. Money can buy a lot of things, Phil. It can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy what we achieved. All the money and all the tea in China cannot buy what we achieved, and can't buy those memories, and it can't buy the memories that it gave the supporters as well. And so it was great to be part of it, and and obviously very proud to be a member of that bigger team.
Great to hear from Keith Scott chatting to Phil. Listen out in the future where you'll hear more of that interview as well. And on next week's show, that was harder to say than I thought. We'll have next week's show. We'll have another of the players from. Are you yawning? Players from 30 years ago.
I was about to go, ooh.
Okay.
I was breathing in ready, but.
Because it'll be Halloween next week. No, it won't.
No, it won't.
No, it won't.
An excited ooh, like a ooh.
Oh, okay, not a spooky
Not
ooh. Next week on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, more oohs.
Mm-hmm.
Brought to you by Lig. Second part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show is now finished. Didn't know where I was going with that. Third part on the way next.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound. Tuesday evenings from 7.
Hello, Phil here from Wycombe Wanderers, host of Ringing the Blues, which you can listen to right here on Wycombe Sound every Tuesday from 7 till 8. We'll have all the action from the game at the weekend, plus a whole host of players and guests associated with the club, plus our weekly feature Till Death Us Do Part, where Wycombe fans remember their favourite memories. Only on Wycombe Sound, 7 till 8.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show, Thursdays from 7.
106.6 FM, Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield. But first, as part of our preview to the Wycombe Wanderers Women's FA Cup tie, Wycombe Wanderers Women's FA Cup tie on Sunday against Dartford, been catching up with Ashley Harte, who can tell us a little more about her change in position after starting off as a right back, but now occupying midfield.
I kind of said to Carl when I joined, originally, I put down my position as a centre-back, but said to him that I can play right back if there's a job to be filled there. And a couple of weeks ago, he sort of approached me and said, have you ever played holding midfield? I said, well, I have a long time ago when I was a little bit younger and probably able to do a little bit more running, but I hadn't done it for a little while. So it's not something that is completely alien to me, but to be asked to go and fill in that position and do a job there was quite rewarding. It was something that I was willing to take on the challenge, really, and trust what Carl is saying and what he wants me to do.
So are you one of those sort of players who's just happy to contribute and or happy playing anywhere, or have you got particular favourite positions and where you'd like to assist in games?
I mean, of course, it's ideal to be working or doing a job in your most comfortable position, but I'm very much a firm believer of if you get the opportunity to get on the pitch in any sort of position, I'd give my everything in that position, and any opportunity I get, I'd want to make that position mine, regardless of whether it's somewhere that I feel most comfortable with. I always want to do my best in that role. And if I can break through in that position, rather than a position that I thought I was more comfortable, then that's a win-win situation for me and for the team, realistically.
And you've just been coming back from injury as well. How's that been? Has it been, I guess, a real mental challenge as well as physically wanting to get back?
Yeah, it was a little bit strange because, I mean, a broken wrist isn't too difficult in terms of affecting your gameplay and stuff like that. But for me, it was, I was just starting to build up a little bit of confidence, build up a good run of games and sort of finding my feet. And then when I broke my wrist, I was quite gutted, to be fair, because I thought I'd be out for a hell of a lot longer. But I managed to convince the doctors to put me into a splint after 2 weeks, and as soon as they sprinted me up, I was replacing that with strapping and willing to get back on the pitch. So I think, it was really good to get back, and I wouldn't have wanted it to be any longer.
So what's been your sort of football journey, if you like? Have you been playing for a very long time or since a really early age? Or
I can't remember the exact time I joined, but I want to say it was sort of under the age of 10. I used to play football at school. My brother was big into football. He did some stuff at the Brentford Academy when he was younger, so I'd always spend my weekend down there watching my brother kicking a ball on the sideline, participating in the after-school football. And then I started with a local girls team over in Ealing, where I used to live. Pitsanger FC is where I originally started my journey. And then from there, I got into a few different teams. I was at Brentford when I was a lot younger. I've played more recently at QPR after that. And then I went into the QPR Women's before I then went on to Ashford, Actonians, and now at Wycombe. So I've played in a few different clubs with sort of relatively big names and whatnot. But I'd say it probably started for me, kicking a ball around Pitsanger Park is really my first ever team.
And how have you found the changes in sort of level and standard that you've played at?
They're always a little bit different, but I always just find wherever I come in, if I can bring something to the game or try and sort of bring that extra level or intensity or something, I'm always willing to do that. So it is a bit of a different change, but for me it's something that I'm always willing to sort of slot in and try and do my bit and see how I can help the team.
It feels like a really nice time to be at Wycombe as well, and what's going on at that club too.
Yeah, it's mad, to be honest. They compare it to how they started last season and the squad depth that we've got. It's so much quality in it, and we're obviously on a really good run at the moment. We're 6 unbeaten, 4 wins on the bounce recently, ahead of coming into Sunday's game. So it's looking really positive, and it's a really good time to be a part of a club that is really good fun. People are really happy. We're getting the good results, and it's just on the up at the moment, I think, for us.
And really nice as well. We spoke to Maka last week as well, and she's someone who's obviously only 18 and come up from the under-18s, and it's really great that there is a pathway and players such as yourself who've had the experience at different levels and at other clubs and can really pass that on to the youngsters too. Yeah,
no, 100%. I think sort of having that extra experience and the ability to sort of deal with the pressure of sort of important games, particularly ahead of Sunday's FA Cup game, it is just sort of offering that extra experience to the younger ones who have got some really good quality, and some of the other under-18s that have been training with us in training, and I think a couple of the other girls had call-ups last Sunday for the County Cup game. It's really, really good to see them coming through, and they're such good players, like to play against as well. It's just that little sort of fine-tweaking stuff into women's football that they'll get there. It's really good to see, to be honest. It's a really good club with the pathways that are coming through and the sort of training together that we do every Tuesday, every Thursday. The 3 teams are there. And it does allow that flexibility across and allows Carl to see everyone in the Wycombe Wanderers women section as opposed to just the first team.
And is there extra motivation this week to be able to get further in the competition than last season?
Yeah, of course there is. I mean, I only ever want to play to win. So it's a real big game for everyone. And for me, it's something that hopefully we can try and get the win and kickstart a bit more of a journey in terms of our success this season and what we're trying to achieve across the board, not just in the FA Cup, but sort of in the league, and try and put that towards our County Cup challenge as well that we've got in the next coming weeks. What we're saying, every time we've got a league game, we're focusing on getting those 3 points, as many as we can on the board. But the cup games are also really rewarding to get the wins out and to keep being able to push in terms of the competition and against those different teams that we're not necessarily playing against in our league. It's really good to be able to push and get the wins against them as well.
And have you noticed the development in the team as a whole, but also in your own game as well?
Yeah, it's interesting, to be fair. I mean, last season I was off the back of not really getting so many minutes just because of my availability and whatnot. So it's really good to see sort of the progression in myself, and I'm always striving to be better and better. But also collectively that impacts the entire team. And I think every week we're stepping it up a level. I say to everyone every week, my whole thing is we bring the game to them. And I'm a firm believer of if we bring the tempo and we bring the game to another team, that always puts us out on top, and that always serves us in good stead to sort of get that win after 90 minutes.
So what would you say are the main strengths of the team?
I mean, I think over the last coming weeks, we're really showing the ability to have fun while we're playing football. And when you're having fun, that extra little bit of desire comes out, and people are wanting to win. We're wanting to fight for each other. The togetherness is all gelling, and everyone's playing a part in that, whether you're coming on from the bench or you're starting. Everyone is starting to understand that we're a team, and everything that we do doesn't just affect us individually, it affects the team. So I think that whole togetherness is really coming through, and that level of desire is continually on the up.
And what would you say will be a successful season for both yourself and the team?
I think for me it's more about just continually sort of staying fit, doing the best I can to work hard for whether it's 90 minutes on the pitch or less, doing absolutely the best I can to do that, focusing on sort of how I can affect play in that new position and trying to be a bit more of a playmaker in terms of pulling strings going forward, but also remembering the responsibilities with the back line as well. So for me, it's just sort of getting that balance and continuing to strive to be better and better in that position. And I think for the team, like we said it before, we're looking to challenge in the league. We want to be up there. We want to try and do our very best to sort of look for promotion, whether it's this season, next season, whenever that may be. Always winning cups is always a good thing. How far can we get in the FA Cup? Can we challenge in that County Cup? I mean, they managed to win a cup last season, so can we do that same again and get some success somewhere across the board in terms of trophies?
Well, we will obviously wish you all the best for Sunday and the rest of the season. Look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers, Colin. Appreciate it.
Great chatting to Ashley, and obviously wish all the team all the success for the Women's FA Cup on Sunday. We haven't had a big hello to anyone for a while.
Should we do a big hello?
I think we should.
Let me bring you up to date with some news from the Wycombe Wanderers Facebook page, fan group, the fan page. You know what I'm talking about. There was a post on there saying well done to the media team because there was no game, you know, nice bit of appreciation.
Absolutely.
Well done. Morgan then said, let's not forget about Colin and Luke from Wycombe Sound.
That's nice.
That's nice.
Big hello to Morgan.
Big hello to Morgan, but an even bigger hello to David, who said, so corny, they are best forgotten.
Oh.
So, good evening, David. Hope you're doing well. Hope your Thursday's going well.
We'll try our best to be less corny in future shows. Now, though, let's catch up with manager Matt Bloomfield, who spoke to Phil earlier on this afternoon.
I had an opportunity to try and refresh a little bit. I think the schedule has been very intense and will be again in the next coming weeks. So it's important to try and strike that balance between giving the boys a couple of days to get their legs back a little bit. They've been working extremely hard in the last international break. We really kind of went for it a little bit, so we felt like this was the right time after the Stevenage game just to have a couple of days to freshen their minds a little bit. And then we're working hard again this week, so we're hoping to hit the ground running again on Saturday.
You said refresh the minds, but it's physical rest of the body, which is hugely important, I guess, over a long season, but also the mental side of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we, I would suggest we're fairly intense in the way we work as staff and with the lads in terms of meetings and out on the training pitch. We've been trying to implement a lot since pre-season, so the opportunity just to freshen up their minds slightly, I think, and their bodies. They've been putting a lot into it. The lads have been, you know, their work ethic has been top since the first day we came back in pre-season. You know, if you think that some of the boys missed pre-seasons, they've gone and had a real spike in their physical output. Just the opportunity to let them get their legs back for a couple of days was one we needed to take. So we've done that and then got back at it this week.
Luke Leahy said on Ringing the Blues this week as well, a chance to spend time with the family during the season. He says because a lot of families, they head and kick every ball as well.
Yeah, they live it with us, don't they? We all know that after a lifetime in football, you know, your family, those ones around you, the loved ones, they really live it with you. They really head and kick every ball. They're there for you in the good moments and the bad, and you know, a ruined weekend with a bad result and all the rest of it, how it goes. But so it's been nice to spend a little bit of time with them. I think you have to keep everything in perspective and understand that, you know, what we do, the reason we do it is for them anyway. So to have a couple of days with them has been nice, but we've certainly not been taking too much time off. I'm not really the type that likes to have too many days off, so we've been trying to get that balance right. But we've been training hard this week and ready to go.
big week for the club internationally, away from the domestic setup. Having two of our own players up against each other in international was a first for the club at this level. How did that make you feel as manager?
Really proud. Actually, I watched the game. I found it online, so I was able to watch the game. Really proud to watch Joe and TJ up against each other. I thought it was a big moment for us as a football club, and I thought for their respective countries they played really well. Obviously, we had Dale as well, making his first 2 international starts. So yeah, it's really proud to watch on from afar. Keep in contact with the boys when they're away through WhatsApp or the odd phone call, but try and let them really throw themselves into their international football. So yeah, really proud to watch, especially TJ and Joe playing against each other, which is a first for our club, and for Dalo as well, first 2 international starts. Are something we need to celebrate and be proud of our boys who are going away and performing for their country. And good thing is they've all come back fit and firing and ready to go.
Is it a bit like lending someone the keys to your car? You think it's great they want to borrow it, but I hope they don't come back scratched or anything.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't really lend out my car too much, but no, yeah, it's one of those things. It's obviously twofold, isn't it? Like on one hand, you're extremely pleased and proud with them going and performing, and you want them to go and grab it for what they can. But on the flip side, as a club manager, you just want them to come back in good health and ready to go for the game. So we're pleased they have, and so we hope there's plenty more for all of them to come.
There's 3 massive games coming up. We'll start with Peterborough. The table's kind of got its shape now, and we've got an idea of where everybody's at. This is a game against the top 6 rival.
Yeah, I think that Darren's done an incredible job there. Someone who I think extremely highly of, actually. I've had quite a lot of interaction with him over the last couple of years. He was a good sounding board when I first went to Colchester, and I reached out to him this week. I'm really sorry for the loss that him and his family have suffered this week, which has been a tough one for him and his family. But he's done a great job at Peterborough. We know they've got some really good players. They obviously got so close last season with their agonising semi-final loss. So they've retained the majority of that group, and they've come back fighting. So extremely tough game for us on Saturday. But we have to, as I keep repeating myself over the course of the season, we believe in what we're building here. We know we've had a few decent performances recently, and for me and for us, it's about trying to tag another performance on the back of it. If we can do that, then we want to go to Peterborough and see if we can give them a good game.
You touched a bit on this when we had our chat with you and Rob together, but that connection with other managers and that network, from the outside looking in, it seems to be sort of competitive. Everyone's trying to get the most competitive advantage, but there does seem to be this network of support as well.
Yeah, most definitely there is. I've got a smaller network than maybe most in terms of people who've been in the game a long time, but I do believe I'm extremely lucky to have the knowledge that I can lean on. People who I've met on courses or friends, obviously Russell and Gaz, and then Michael Duff, who I met on the course, Darren Ferguson when I was at Colchester, leaned on him a bit as well. So it's a small world, and I think that the nice thing about it is other managers know what you're living, they know what you're going through on a daily basis and on a Saturday afternoon. So to have that support there is really valuable, especially for young managers coming into the game. But on a Saturday afternoon, it resorts to type, and everyone's desperate to win, and you do what you need to do to try and win the game.
And away from the league, I know this is a long way away in terms of games, but an FA Cup draw, back on the coach for another long away day.
Yeah, we've got that to look forward to as well. Obviously, I love the FA Cup. I think it's incredible. We're really pleased to have qualified for the EFL Trophy, so we've got a second round of that to look forward to in December. So we've got the final group round of that. We've got loads of games coming up. It's going to be a busy schedule. We have to keep everyone as fresh as we can and keep the competition for places high, which at the moment is really good. There's plenty of food for thought in terms of team selection. We obviously saw Carlisle at home and then Portsmouth away. There's some really good performances, and we freshened up at Fleetwood and there's some good performances again. So it gives the old cliche managers got headaches, but it's good that having that competition is really, really important for us here. So the boys are in a good spot, and we have to make sure we translate that onto the pitch on Saturday.
And finally, after the break, the injury list, we knew what it was before going into that. How's that progressing?
Starting to ease slightly. We're hoping to welcome a couple of those boys back in the very near future. Probably not for Saturday afternoon. Wills is really close, and a couple of the others are working their way back not too far away. So, I think we've spoken about that injuries that we've been unfortunate to suffer. A lot of them were impact injuries, but you know, it's part of the game, and we have to make sure, you know, one of the things going out of the transfer window in August was that, you know, it's a long few months till January. We had to be as strong as we possibly can. So, yeah, we're pleased where we're at. Hopefully 1 or 2 injuries will be back soon to help complement the squad, and in the meantime we'll try and keep these boys as fit and fresh as we can.
Great to hear from the manager chatting to Phil. You can hear a full extended version of that on
Pre-match drills,
which is available
now. I think possibly soon, any minute, moments away,
momentarily.
Yeah.
And what else?
You can also Know Me Known Blues is back tomorrow with Freddie Potts, the West Ham superstar loanee.
And there's
Can we keep him?
continental version as well, I believe.
There is, coming soon. Keep an eye on. Oh no, have a look on Wycombe Wanderers Twitter for more details on that.
Very exciting.
It's all very exciting. Pretty much Jules is good this week as well. Check it out.
Ringing the Blues was good. We mentioned that earlier.
That was good. There's lots of exciting content.
Make sure you don't miss next week's show either.
Come on, you Blues.